It's Time Warner Cable's Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. We are joined by Joel Fajardo. He is the mayor of the city of San Fernando, which is in the middle of the high-speed rail debate.
Absolutely.
Could you explain to us why the line that would go from Palmdale to Burbank implicates San Fernando?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me here today. And there are actually a few different lines that are being considered right now. The one that affects San Fernando most directly is called SR14.
Right.
And so that goes from Palmdale to Santa Clarita to San Fernando to Burbank along that area. However, the only stops are actually in Palmdale and Burbank.
And would that be going along the 14 freeway? Is that how it works? Through the SR14 line?
To some extent, it follows that area, but it's not on the freeway. And so some people envision the high-speed rail as a project that actually goes on the freeway or shares some of the Metrolink tracks, but that isn't the case in this. So they would be their own separate tracks.
And this is not the line that is proposed going through Angeles National Forest?
Those are called the Eastern Corridor routes, and there are 3 in the Eastern Corridor. So there's E1, E2, and E3.
And then SR14, is that the 4, or?
That's the 4th one.
Okay.
And so the concept originally started with SR14 in mind, and when they saw a number of problems arise, including the fact that it would bifurcate the city of San Fernando.
And that's the issue.
Right.
And that is the issue. So as it relates to the SR14 line, when you say bifurcate, I know what that means, but really explain to us, what does that mean?
Well, effectively, you would divide the city in San Fernando in half with a 20-foot high wall. So you would essentially have 2 distinct communities.
Really?
Yeah, and in order to get from one end of the community to the other end, you would have to go through an underpass to the city.
Okay.
So it would really change the character of the city, and it would really alter it in a way that we've never seen before,
and
from which we can't recover.
Right, and as I understand it, you've done an economic analysis.
Correct.
The city, and it is argued that if this should happen, the SR14 route, that the city could lose up to $1.3 million a year in revenue.
Right, and that might seem like a small number if you're talking about the city of LA or some other city, but for city of San Fernando, it's actually a major part of our budget. It's equivalent to approximately 7% of our budget, and that's not even including the residual effect that losing all those businesses will have and all the jobs that will be lost.
And is that why there is that loss? Because by creating that corridor, would they have to literally take out businesses?
They would very likely take out businesses and buildings, and we don't know the full extent of it yet. Unfortunately, after asking them for over a year, they still haven't provided us with additional information. So we're left in waiting, wondering which businesses will and which businesses won't be affected.
So with regard to the other 3 routes, do we know if those routes also call for bisecting the city as you describe?
There's probably the most movement against E2 because it would bring the high-speed rail through a residential area in the Shadow Hills and Foothills communities.
Not in San Fernando.
Not in San Fernando. And it would also impact, or it could potentially impact, an environmentally sensitive area.
So are any of the 4 plans acceptable at this stage to the city of San Fernando?
At this stage, I wouldn't say that there's any one that is perfect. Obviously, the city of San Fernando is working very hard to ensure that people are aware of the damage that SR14 would cause, because we would never be able to recover from that level of catastrophe and damage.
So as I understand it, there are community meetings going on. I assume you and your compatriots are attending these meetings.
I've gone to quite a number of them, and as far as I know, they aren't holding any more community meetings until next year, although there may be other community meetings that are held outside of the scope of what the high-speed rail proposes. And they continue to have their board meetings. There was a board meeting in Fresno, I believe it was this past Monday, and a number of community members, including our vice mayor, went to that board meeting to continue protesting the high-speed rail's impact on our communities.
His name is Joel Fajardo. He is the mayor of the beautiful city of San Fernando in the San Fernando Valley. My name is Brad Pomerance. We thank you so much for joining us on Time Warner Cable's Local Edition.